time is precious. Life is not just the passing of time. Life is not just the passing of time. Life is a collection of experiences, their frequency and their intensity. Life is not just watching the clock tick away. Life is a collection of experiences, their intensity, their frequency. When my friend Mark died at age 44, someone says, that's young to die. But what if he lived 4 lifetimes in one? It might not be too young. Whatever the span of your life turns out to be, here's what you want to fill it up with: experiences and the intensity of those experiences. But now let's talk about the management of time. Here's the first one. Ignore the subject. I mean, that's good advice. Don't let anything overly bug you. Because remember now, you don't have to do anything. Someone says, well, I got to get a handle on my time. The answer is no, you don't. If you want to let it all go, you can let it all go. I mean, this is good advice. Somebody says, you ought, you ought, you ought. Jot this down. Ignore all the you oughts or you should. Only if they're giving general information. We should. It's better to say, if you're teaching, we should. Not you should, we should. Then you let me listen in without it being too confrontational. If everyone did this, see, that'd be great. And then you give a person a chance to choose to do it or not to do it. But when you start the you ought, now see, if I don't, now see, we've got some tension and maybe some problems. So you oughts seem to always create problems. Because this is personal dignity. And you don't want to destroy someone's dignity by doing all the oughts and then they feel reluctant to do it. Now we've got problems. So if you want to, just ignore this subject on time management. Now here's the next one. Step down to something easier. The guy's in sales and he says, oh, I want to own the company. Finally owns the company. Now he's got no time to play golf. He said, when I was in sales, I was making big money playing golf 3 days a week. Heck with this owning something. Heck with managing. My life was never my own after I started to manage. I'm going back to sales. See, this is the key. If you're getting too pressed, you might consider stepping down to something with a little easier time pressure. Little girl says to her mother, Daddy comes home, brings his briefcase and pats me on the head and says hello, disappears and works on his papers. How come my daddy doesn't play with me? And her mother said, look, your daddy loves you very much, but he's so busy at work, he can't get it all done, he has to bring it home. He loves you, but that's why he can't play with you. And the little girl said, why don't they just put him in a slower group? So, jot this down now. If you don't have time for your kids, you might consider joining a slower group. Remember when I said some things I went for cost me too much? So reconsider. Next key to time management, and that's work longer and harder. But see, there's a limit to that. I almost lost my health the first year. I went so crazy about personal development and achievement. I just went bonkers. You know, I told you I was skinny, but at the end of that first year, I was a walking shadow. And then it suddenly occurred to me, what if I got rich and too ill to spend it? I mean, that was a shocker. So I started developing a little more reasonable, because I said, if 12 hours won't do it, I'll work 14. If that won't do it, I'll work 18. I mean, how many hours it takes. And sure enough, it cost me too much. So see, working longer and harder for some might be appropriate. You know, if you're just sitting around not doing that much, this might be good, work longer and harder. But you can only work so hard. Here's the key, not to work harder, but smarter. When you've worked as hard as you can, doing the best you can in terms of physical output in the time, reasonable time. Now here's the ultimate in the management of time, and that is you simply become more skillful. When I first got into sales, you know, I was around people that could get, 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10. And when I first started, I could only get 1 out of 10. But here's what I did. I worked around the clock, so that I would make up in numbers what I lacked in skill. That's good in sales. You got to jot that down. When you're new, you make up in numbers what you lack in skill. Now, when you become more skillful, the numbers can go down because now your persuasive ability and all of that is now so high that you don't need to put as many numbers out. But at first, if you want to compete or if you want to really get good, you've got to put in the numbers. But if you get more from yourself, develop more of yourself, now the time management becomes an easier task. Now here's the next thing. Either you run the project or it runs you. I've found out when you start something, at first you're in charge. All of a sudden, a year later, it's in charge. Some of the companies I started, I'm telling you, I'm in control. A couple of years later, I'm out of control. At first, I've got it on the run. 2 years later, it's got me on the run. Haven't got enough time. I'm dizzy with trying to get it all done. So here's part of the key, and that's to get in charge. It's easy to start something. First thing you know, you're out of control. It's in control. The enterprise you get started now runs you ragged. Because I did that when I had the whole 13 offices and the big entourage. I'm telling you, it was like short nights and long days and just sort of the never-ceasing demand for time and activity, which was fine. At that time in my life, it was fine, and created a lot of good results and laid some good foundation for a lot of future careers that came from those unique times. There's a pretty long list of people who were inspired by it and educated by it and participated in that program I had going. But then I rechanged the format to sort of rearrange my own life personally, which has paid off for me. Now I have a heavy workload, but if you finally get to the place where you have most everything done for you, I still farm in Idaho, but I'm what's known as a gentleman farmer. A gentleman farmer gives orders and other people do the work. It's different than being a farmer doing the work yourself. I know that because I was raised in the farm country where I still have my farm, but now I have the luxury of participants who look after my agriculture, look after my home building. My daughter looks after all of my accounts and my residences and my real estate, and I have good partners in business. That's extra luxury, where you can do your specialty and other people working make it valuable.
Here's what I discovered that happens to you in life, that you will go through things, and while you're going through them, you can't understand why it's happening to you. But after you go through it, you get back and you look at it and you say, oh, now I understand why I needed that lesson. Have it ever happened to you? Raise your hand. Has it ever happened to you that I couldn't understand it then, but after I got through it, then I saw that was preparing me for bigger and better things. That as you go through the challenges of life and you look at it and embrace whatever comes to you, don't run from it. Step toward it. Don't try and duck it like most people do. See, most people want it easy. See, easy come, easy what? Easy go. See, but when you go at what you're going to deal with and you deal with the difficulties of it, when you handle those hard things close at hand, making those hard decisions right now that you don't want to make, learning those things that you don't like to do, but you know that in order for you to get where you want to go, this is one of the hoops that you have to flip through. And I'm saying to you, whatever you got to do it, because if you don't, life is going to whoop you until you surrender and say, okay, all right, I cooperate, okay, I learned, okay. It had to wear me out a long time. So if it's hard, then do it hard.
I want you to live the life you were meant to live. You hear me? Not the life that was given to you. I'm a high school dropout because that's the life my daddy gave me. But I've been married almost 28 years and 2 kids by the same woman, which is not my experience. I got brothers and sisters, none of us had the same parents. Because I made up in my mind, that's the life y'all gave me. Yeah. I'm not taking that no more. I don't want to be on crack. I've never drank, I never smoked, and I'm not against it. I just didn't do it because my family was doing it and they wasn't winning doing it. Uncle died of cirrhosis of the liver. I'm like, bro, I'm not going out like that. Uncle's in prison. I wasn't meant to be in prison. I got married at 19, y'all. I was meant to live with a woman. I'm just being real. I'm just being real, bro. I ain't mad at you, bro. I'm just being real. It's some dudes, they like, I'm hardcore. I'm not hard. I'm not hard, bro. I promise you, I'm not hard. I don't want to be with no dudes all day, every day. I'm gonna need a break. I'm gonna need a break from that. I'm just being real. I'm gonna need a break from me and my man in the same bunk, and I ain't got no privacy. I'm gonna need a break from that. I'm just being real. I'm gonna need a break from prison food. I'm gonna need my grandma cooking at some point. I'm just being real. Just be honest when you walk out of here. Some of you are not transitioning because you're okay with the life you have, and I'm telling you, when I walk out, I want to be an example of you can start from wherever and get to wherever you want to get to. That's what I'm asking you to do. What fuels you? The reason why you so lazy is not because you don't have the ability. You so lazy because your dream's so small.
Freshman year in college, me and my boys start like this, like Christian, like organization.
Get that goal, get that dream, and I'm just been telling you, drive it and drive it and drive it and drive it. What I've been talking about is consistency.
You must come up with a morning routine that you do every single morning, or at least more mornings than not, that puts you in control of yourself and in control of your day. This is what I do, and I cannot explain the power that I get from starting my day off and being bigger than my excuses and being in control. First and foremost, wake up on time. When that alarm goes off, get your butt out of bed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Why is that important for persistence? The reason why is because the first decision that you're making of the day is to actually get up and get moving. That means you are persistently bigger than your excuses. You are persistently bigger than feeling lazy. And you are persistently beating the feelings that typically stop you. The second thing that I want you to do, before you look at your email, before you answer your phone, before you start surfing Vox and Vice and BuzzFeed and, Teamstream and checking out the sales on Zappos and looking at your Facebook newsfeed, before you pick up the damn phone, please, 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 figure out your 2 priorities for the day. These are the things that matter to you. Whether it's saving money and making sure you're focused on that, or showing up at work and being a contributor, or whether it's changing how you treat your spouse or your kids or the person that you're with, or heck, getting to the gym because you said you would. Whatever it is that your 2 priorities are, put them in your head before you pick up the phone. Why? The reason why is because of persistence. The reason why is because I want you to have a good day. Do you know what makes for a bad day? What makes for a bad day is snoozing, starting your day off late, starting your day off tired, starting your day off by mainlining everybody else's news feed on social media and looking at everybody else's life and saying to yourself, oh my God, they're on vacation, or gosh, they look so great, or their friends are so fancy, or my gosh, they've got so money. You start off your day looking at that, you're never gonna have a good day. You gotta start off your day by getting up on time, figuring out your priorities, and then getting to work on them. Do not pick up your phone until you have done those 2 things. I think the single biggest reason why people have bad days is because they start them off by looking around at everybody else and seeing what they're doing, instead of having the focus and the discipline to actually start your day off with you in control and with your priorities front and center. So, you want a bonus round? Exercise every day. That's right. Get up on time, figure out your priorities, and exercise. You do those 3 things, you'll be kicking ass every single day.
Part of the work that I love to do now is really help people understand, what is your story? Like, what's the story you're telling yourself? Because we all have a story. We have a money story, a relationship story, a health story. We have a story for everything. And then that story keeps recreating our lives over and over and over again. And we have beliefs that support the story. We have habits that support the story. We have people that support the story. We have systems that support our story. And so my question that I always ask people, who would you be with a different story?
So for the next 90 days, your first 90 minutes at work, make it focused on your single most important project. I'll repeat that again. For the next 90 days, the first 90 minutes of your workday, focus monomaniacally on your single most valuable project. I call it your game-changing move. So it might be creating a new piece of code that will revolutionize the marketplace. It might be a new product that when you launch it will fill a need within your industry that no peer is currently providing. I don't know what your game-changing move is, but this is your poetry. This is your magnum opus for the next 90 days. So what most people do is, people who are playing at victimhood, people who are in the 95%, people who are making excuses about ordinary results in their life. A lot of them are not doing the things that would give them legendary results. And what they do is they get to the office, and rather than using prime time for A activities, they use their best hours watching dancing cats on whatever it is, whatever the video platform is. They spend their best hours surfing the internet, looking at blogs. They spend their best hours playing with notifications, reading notifications, chatting with friends who are not really their friends, but really they're just bored, so they're distracting themselves, which is just a form of medication, because potential unexpressed turns to pain, and they're in a lot of pain, and it's subconscious, and they haven't done the work to know it. So really, they've created these drugs of choice, like too much email, too much web surfing, too much chit-chatting, too much looking at funny looking videos that make them laugh in the moment, that make them feel happy and give them a short burst of dopamine and maybe a little bit of serotonin, which is the pleasure neurotransmitter, and that's how they get through their day. And all I'm saying is there is so much distraction available to you out there that if you are not acutely careful, it will dominate your days. What I'm really trying to say is this: a ritual for you to run and dial in and hardwire to the point of automaticity, that's the word the researchers use when a habit becomes your new normal, over 66 days, is the 90-91 rule. And to give it to you again so you really remember it, for the next 90 days, your first 90 minutes, create a tight bubble of total focus so that no one can distract you. Turn off your devices, put them in a little plastic bag, put some reminders on your door, maybe some post-it notes that this is my tight bubble of total focus for the next 90 minutes. Tell your team, tell your loved ones, maybe put a do not disturb sign on your door. They'll laugh, and explain it to them that for the next 90 days, I will spend 90 minutes away from distraction, away from technology, away from interruptions, focusing on my magnum opus, focusing on the genius project that I want to bring into the world, because I will never mail it in. I will always bring it on, and I'm going to do this for the next 90 minutes, and I'm going to optimize it and iterate it every day, and I'm going to bring my full bandwidth, because what makes a genius, they all have one trait in common: they were able to spend extended periods of time in isolation, focused monomaniacally on their most valuable project.
I think you'll agree with me when I say, some people spend their entire lives wondering how to be successful in life, but never figure it out. Would you be surprised to find out that the secret really comes down to 4 key areas? Well, it does. You see, personal success is achievable for anyone who practices the 4 areas, or keys to success as I call them. Everyone wants personal success and to learn the keys to success. Everyone wants to have a happy, healthy life, do meaningful work, enjoy a career, and achieve financial independence. Everyone wants to make a difference in the world, to be significant, to have a positive impact on those around him or her. Everyone wants to do something wonderful with his or her life. Over and over, I have found that the keys to success are a single piece of information, a single idea at the right time, that can change your life in the right situation. I have also learned that the great truths are simple,